Okay, yay! And now a better video. A video about something that's cool to talk about because it's not talking about critical analysis problems, it's talking about a potential solution to those problems. And there are loads of solutions. As I said earlier in a previous video, I've traveled a lot of the world at this point. Not as much as I'd like, but a lot of it. And I spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia. And in Southeast Asia, while it is developing rapidly and making amazing leaps and bounds in progress and development, there is a lot of poverty and there is a lot of suffering. And coming from a Catholic background myself and understanding the mindset of the black and white and good and evil sides of Christian thought and Muslim thought and traditional Judeo-Christian values, here's a list of things you do and don't do. I personally, ever since I was about 17, actually younger than that, I've been studying religion a long time, have always been drawn to Eastern philosophy. And the first thing I would have really called myself outside of calling myself Catholic when I was baptized Catholic would have been Taoist. And I read the Tao of Pooh, and the Tao Te Ching, and the Day of Piglet, and began living in a kind of simplicity and started eating nothing but straight fruits and vegetables. I lived my life doing long walks in parks in Nashville and, just kind of chilling. And that carried on for a couple of years, and then I kind of fell away from that. And then I moved out to LA, and I took up meditation at the Shambhala Center. And that was really kind of what opened my eyes and gave me the solution, even though I didn't properly use it for years. But what I think one of the biggest problems you face in a consumer capitalist environment, in an environment of any kind that's driven by wants and desires, is there's a concept in Buddhism known as codependent arising. And what that means is when you create one thing, you create its opposite. When you create hope, you create fear, because you create automatically the fear that that hope will not be fulfilled. When you create good, you create bad. When you say, this is good, that means something else is evil. So essentially, it's a perpetual state of judgment that creates nothing but anxiety. And that black and white thinking is absolutely inherent in Western religions, as previously mentioned. To live in a meditative state, to put yourself in a mindset of being okay, probably it would actually help for me to give a little bit of background here. I was an only child, no family. My mother passed away when I was about 23 years old. And she was all the family I had. And I had previously spent the last 2 years basically losing every friend that I'd had, because I had absolutely just broken down and was not functional. And I had turned to my mother after we'd been estranged for quite a number of years over different issues. And she promptly, at the moment that I absolutely thought, okay, well, this is it, I'm going to have my mom back, my best friend, my everything, she died. And it was sudden, it was expected, I never got to talk to her again. So what do you do? I spent about a decade on a dance floor, just getting through it, just coping. At a certain point, when you travel somewhere like Cambodia and you see so much pain and you see how the people turn to the monks and you see how the people cope, and you see people that have literally nothing on but a loincloth smile. Or sometimes they won't smile because they're in a moment of pain. What you realize is it's about attachment. A, it's about compassion. Have compassion for the suffering of others. B, suffering is caused from attachment. Attachment to a hoped outcome, whatever it may be. And suffering is also caused from extending pain past the point of necessity. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. That being said, it's unrealistic to think that you're going to have something happen like lose a parent and there's not going to be fallout. The goal is to contain those moments within themselves. And the idea of meditation is to help you live in the moment and to not take anxieties created by thoughts and turn them into juggernauts that overwhelm you and overwhelm your life. Because after my mother died, I started having, I'd actually had panic attacks, but I really started having them and started having just really difficult experiences. And I've also had some other stuff go on since having met some unfortunate people and allowed them into my life. Some of them just forced their way in, whether I liked it or not. But the way that you cope with extreme, literally down to the description of torture, the way that you cope with pain, the way that you cope with containment of the mind is through living in the moment and not allowing where the rubber hits the road there to be any traction. When I would sit in meditation in the Shambhala Center, they don't tell you empty your mind and think of nothing, do it now, do it now, do it now. And the reason that you don't say that to someone in meditation is because the minute you tell someone to think of nothing, they're sitting there trying to think about nothing. So they're not being, they're trying. Your thoughts are going to go. They're going to wander. They're going to do whatever they do. Let them go. And then work on just getting them back and recollecting them. A thought pops up, you notice it. You don't fight it, because the minute you fight it, you give it power. You give it the traction it needs to build up speed, to grow strength, to create force, to create energy behind it. So what you want to do is not fight it. It's still going to take up something. That's going to happen. It's the nature of the beast. But it doesn't have to be as much. And the more you meditate, eventually you'll get into walking meditation. And then walking meditation just becomes living meditation. And then you become in the moment of your mind and in the moment of now, and your mind reflects now. If you look at your life, more of our now is okay than not, unless you have an absolutely horrific life, where you basically are put in a cage and tortured every moment of your life for years and years and years. There are moments of reprieve. In those moments of reprieve, you be in those moments of reprieve. You don't put yourself into the future of, well, this is gonna... yes, you try to plan, but past the point of planning, there's something eventual, that you can't stop. Like death. How much do we do sitting around? How much life do we waste? How much energy do we put into, if you look at religion, if you look at philosophy, if you look at existentialism, if you look at all of the effort that's been put into confronting the question of death, how much do we put into thinking about that eventuality? Well, once you've thought about it, you've contemplated it, unless you have some new information that comes in to integrate into the model, why are you still thinking about it? You're giving it energy. And that way you're bringing death into life. And that's really the metaphor of neurosis that meditation is built to get you away from. That doesn't mean you have to meditate, though. You don't have to actively meditate at all times. Like I said, you bring meditation into your state of existence. Once you're disciplined enough to do that, every now and then you can sit down for 5, maybe 10 minutes, quiet room, center yourself, burn some incense, whatever. but you just kind of are in that state, and that's generally where most monks are. Most real monks. There are fake monks out there, but real monks, they're just walking around, dealing with the now. They get up every morning, they go out. They, in Southeast Asia, in Thailand, in Cambodia, they form a line down the side of the street every morning. People come out, they pray, they make offering. Whatever you get in your bowl that day, that's what you eat, Um, but they still, in that state reflective of some of the very people that are in their community, or, the people around them, in that state, they're meant to show you there's still peace to be found. They're kind of a totem for remembering that. So how that relates to the individuals in a society, if more people could start bringing that kind of thought, really start seeking out meditative experience, start seeking out opportunities for meditation, start seeking out chances to discipline your mind by undisciplining your mind, if that makes any sense. Start looking for chances and ways to do that, and really you can be. And honestly, there are different types of Buddhism. There's atheistic Buddhism, where you don't believe in a god. There's Theravada Buddhism, where you do, you offer prayers up, and there's an entity, and a sense of spirituality, and the ghosts and spirits going on, and you can actually look at Buddhism as more of, especially in the Zen sense, it's more of a science of living, and a manner of coping with life, and a practice, like a kind of a discipline you bring into your life on a daily basis. You can still do that and be a Christian, or be a Muslim, or be anything else. It's more of just meditation. It's almost like doing yoga. But it's just yoga for your mind and your spirit, as opposed to just your body. So you don't have to give up anything you already believe. The Dalai Lama himself has said that the world doesn't need more Buddhists, it just needs more compassion. So that's, what I would say. Read the Tao of Pooh if you've never read it before. It is absolutely enlightening in, its take on simplicity. And Taoism is essentially about, simplicity. Just kind of be and do. And, in closing, no one said it better than Bruce Lee, be water. There's a problem, go around it. Whoever defeats water, it may be one drop, but if that drop keeps drip, 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 it can accomplish anything over time. So be limitless, be powerful, be formless, and you become somewhat undefeatable.